All signs point to this, as the Toronto Maple Leafs head coach candidacy is really starting to heat up, and multiple reports, specifically one from Elliotte Friedman, has revealed who it is looking like the coach is going to be, and this could be announced as soon as really today. So we're going to break all that down in this episode. But before we do, if you're a part of the 80% who aren't subscribed, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to Darius and I. Darius, it's about that time. It could be announced today. It could be announced Monday. Monday might be the more realistic option, but Elliotte Friedman dropped a bomb. We have more reports from TSN reporters, from writers, and all signs are kind of pointing towards one specific coach. But now that the Carolina Hurricanes have been eliminated, another coach may have entered the potential rumor mill for coaches, and we haven't made a coaching video in a few days, so it's about time we revisit that, because we were kind of hoping a move would happen so we could stop the speculation with it, but it hasn't happened yet. And you hear there's some people on Twitter who aren't necessarily reporters. It's just rumors. Some people, say things. Who knows if he's legit? He says, hearing rumblings of Craig Berube as a new Maple Leafs head coach with the possibility of Marc Savard joining him on the coaching staff. And we'll get into that in a minute. But you look at here, this is from Pierre LeBrun. He's saying Craig Berube is very much the front runner for the Maple Leafs head coaching positions. The conversations have been going well, and there's also a report from Freeman, which we'll get into later, basically saying that he sees it as inevitable that he is the head coach of Berube, that is the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's just a matter of not if, but when. But Darius, we'll start with this one, and these two right here. I mean, you can get into Marc Savard as well. This guy, who knows if he's legit, take it with a huge grain of salt. We're not claiming that he's a reporter, but an interesting talking point nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. We know everything about Craig Berube already, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. And obviously, it kind of started for real earlier this week on 32 Thoughts with Elliotte Friedman, like you said, where he did say this is a real possibility now. It just seems like Brad Treliving is taking his time, which is something he's notorious for doing. So I'm not surprised that that's the case at this point. So he is doing that. And then, of course, like you hear reports from different reporters, like you said here, like Pierre LeBrun saying Craig Berube is very much the guy. All week, we've heard Craig Berube is the guy, the number one choice, the front runner, all of that, right? The new information here, and take it with a grain of salt, like you said, Nick, is the addition of Marc Savard potentially as an assistant coach. I think that's really interesting. He spent some time in Calgary as an assistant coach. He's a former head coach in the OHL as well. So I think that would be a pretty interesting acquisition. I'm not sure if they spent time together, Brad Treliving and Marc Savard in Calgary together. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that's an interesting connection to make there just because of the Calgary roots and whatnot. But that is some new information that has not been said anywhere. I haven't heard that anywhere, but we did hear that Craig Berube does want to bring somebody along with him, whoever that may be. So I think that's an interesting new piece of information, and makes things a little more interesting where, the Leafs haven't dropped anything yet, and Brad Treliving is certainly taking his time.
Yeah, discussion point at the very least for Marc Savard. Could make some sense. We've discussed Todd McLellan a little bit. Probably won't happen regarding McLellan being the assistant coach, but it's very interesting. And you look at it here, Darius, we can get into this a little bit now. So devastating loss for Carolina. Lots of changes coming in Raleigh from front office to roster. They lost a pretty brutal game yesterday against the Rangers. If you look at, obviously, the Carolina head coach's position right now going into the offseason, it's a very interesting one. The Leafs, in theory, should be really going for Brind'Amour's job and trying to get him on the team. He's been a very winning head coach, especially over the last few years with the Carolina Hurricanes team that, I'm not going to say he allowed them to overperform, but he definitely took them to the max potential of their abilities. I don't think they're really a Stanley Cup team, at least this year. What are your thoughts on Brind'Amour now? Now, maybe there's a chance that they're waiting and they wanted to wait out, and that's why they didn't hire Craig Berube for, of course, Rod Brind'Amour of the Carolina Hurricanes, and they're finally eliminated, which benefits the Leafs if that is their plan. But I think the conversations might start to shift now a bit towards Brind'Amour with each passing day that Berube doesn't get hired.
I wonder if they're waiting, and I say they, I mean, Brad Treliving is waiting to see what was going to happen with that series, not necessarily because he wants to hire Rod Brind'Amour, but just to see if Rod Brind'Amour has interest or what happens with that situation, right? Because now we're going to go into next week. If the Leafs don't announce it today at the time of this video coming out that it's Craig Berube, then they're going to wait till Monday, maybe Tuesday to drop it. And then in that time, maybe you get an interview in with Rod Brind'Amour. So they're really doing their due diligence here, which as a Leafs fan, you have to admire. And I think that's a good thing. You don't want to rush into any decision. You want to see who's available. I think the Rod Brind'Amour thing is interesting, though, because he gave a lot of answers after the game last night that sounded very similar to the stuff we hear in Toronto. And I think people are tired of it in Toronto and would rather not listen to that same spiel after losing. He said the Rangers were the best team in the NHL. They lost to the best team in the NHL. We hear that in Toronto from multiple players and the coaches and management for the last couple of years. I'm not sure you want to go in that direction now after I heard that yesterday. Craig Berube, makes his players accountable. You could say what you want about him. We've talked about he's not an X's and O's coach, but he does make his players accountable. He will call them out if necessary, or at least talk to them privately first and then go that route, which is nice. So I think Craig Berube is a welcome change to Toronto. I think it's going to lean that way, but not without the Leafs doing their due diligence and possibly waiting till mid next week to announce this just to see what Rod Brind'Amour is thinking.
And I assume that if Craig Berube is the lead guy, they've had conversations, Craig Berube and obviously the Leafs, about maybe waiting for this to happen. So let us know in the comments right now. Go down and comment what coach you want. And we've done this in the streams before. If you tune into the stream, shout out to all you guys in there. But I think Berube is the guy. But if they hire Rod Brind'Amour, I feel pretty happy as well, just because of how I feel like he could excel his team as well. I just don't know if he's available necessarily. Obviously, there's rumors he declined the extension of the Carolina Hurricanes mid-season, but we'll see that. But now, Darius, there's some more things here. So this is from James Nichols saying, 9 days after LeBron reports the Devils would like to name a head coach of 7 to 10 days, insider Kevin Weeks posts a cryptic whatever that stadium is called, send her a tweet. I'm going to try to pronounce it.
Prudential Center.
Yeah, Prudential. I was going to mess it up like 5 times. Today is day 10, is a head coaching decision on the brink. And this kind of leads to a couple things, obviously. For one, they were in on Berube. 2, they are in on Sheldon Keefe. And now 3, they might even be in on Brind'Amour now that the Carolina Hurricanes are eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. So this is a lot here. And the Devils are kind of the thorn in the Leafs side if you're Brad Treliving right now trying to figure out the coaching staff. Because they're really the only reason. There's a couple of other head coaching vacancies as well. But one of the only reasons that they need to somewhat rush this decision, alongside the fact that they need to get it done so they can make other moves to the roster. But this is an interesting one now.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting plot twist. Not plot twist. We knew this was happening, but this is really, putting things into rush mode for the Maple Leafs. You have to make a decision in short order here because you don't know what the Devils are thinking and you don't know what Berube is thinking. I'm sure they have a better idea of what Berube is thinking than all of us, but you got to get it done quickly. But again, I do think the Leafs are going to do their due diligence, and this isn't just Craig Berube. It could be Sheldon Keefe, like you said here.
This is a rumor.
This is a rumor, of course. It could be Sheldon Keefe heading to the New Jersey Devils as well. So that could be a reason for the cryptic tweet. Kevin Weeks also tweeted out a picture of Toronto skyline last night. So there is something rumbling between the two. I'm not sure who's going where, but it's going to be very interesting. But the fact that he tweeted out Toronto skyline yesterday makes me believe that it's going to be Craig Berube in Toronto, because if they already have a decision made, then it's obviously Berube, not Brind'Amour, and not anyone else. And Winnipeg already found their coach, or there's a rumor to have found their coach. So it's really narrowing down. It looks like it's going to be Craig Berube for sure, but they're going to do their due diligence and take their time.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. And again, there's a lot of, you see this is from Elliot Friedman, Berube's the Leafs guy. It's just a matter of when the deal gets finalized, which is obviously the big report, which we discussed earlier in the video. But Darius, it looks like it's going to happen. My guess is it's going to happen Monday. If it does happen today by some miracle, we will have a video out or some sort of, maybe a stream, something like that out as soon as it happens. But other than that, let us know in the comments, are you happy if it's going to be Berube, or do you want to see someone now like Rod Brind'Amour, who was available, get the head coaching range? So the Maple Leafs, that'll wrap it up. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. See you soon. Thank you for watching.